Hello, hello, everyone, and welcome, welcome. My name is Shaylin Scott, and I am the founder of Book Mecca, an online Black bookstore and literary resource for Black authors and all things Black lit. Today, we have a special treat for you guys. I know you're used to seeing me talking to one person, but today we have a whole lot of guys on the line ready to talk to you about literature, the culture, anything can get in this little hour is what we are going to be talking about today. So everything about Brothers Brown and books. I got my drinks. I hope you guys have your drinks with you. Whether it's non-alcoholic or alcoholic, it's up to you. So I'm going to introduce everyone one at a time, and we'll have a few more guys popping on. So feel free to get all your questions together, any comments that you have, and we're going to get this thing going. All right. So first up, I will definitely get us started with introductions. So first I want to introduce, I'll just go down the line. We have Zoe Amani. Zoe is a CRA coordinator for NCRC. He has a background, bachelor's from Virginia Tech, as well as two bachelors from Virginia Tech, a master's from Arizona State, and he has plans to have a doctoral degree in public administration and public affairs from Virginia Tech. He has a lot on his resume, and I definitely put it all in there in the little profile so you guys can take a look and follow. So welcome, welcome, Zoe.
Greetings. Glad to be on.
All right. Okay, let's see who we got next, guys. We got Andre. Welcome, Andre. Hi. Andre is based in Centerville. Great, great. I see here you have called yourself a self-proclaimed blade, a Black nerd. You have a background in technology. Yep. So we are happy to have you have a full family of actors and singers and your business here in Crystal, Escape Paintings.
That's right.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, next up we have Mr. Brian. All right. Now y'all keep up with me. Okay, Brian, you are a style consultant, entrepreneur, a man of all kinds of trades. You say here you help men and women dress their best on a daily basis. You connect, collaborate, and drink whiskey. My kind of guy. I like it. Welcome.
Thank you, Shay. Thanks for having me.
Okay. All right. And next up, we have Ms. Gabe Sheffield. Gabe, I'm sure many of you guys who are in the Dallas area have seen Gabe around. He is the owner of Black Spades Media, which is a full-service media company, full-time entrepreneur, and he has been in this area. And I'm sure on Thursday, if you're not out and about, I'm going to do a shameless plug for Black Canvas, poetry. Yeah, y'all show up. It's so lit.
Thank you for having me, Shay.
Thank you. Okay. So we'll have a few more guys popping on, but in the meantime, I just want to thank you all for joining. It has been a wonderful year for Book Mecca. We've had the opportunity to meet a lot of different authors who had ideas, whether they were new authors, whether they were New York Times bestselling authors who've come on the stage. But we have the opportunity to interview them as well as to showcase Black authors in general. Our goal at Book Mecca has always been to amplify the voices of Black and Brown families. And a big part of our population of who we serve is predominantly women, but there are a lot of men who are reading. And so I wanted to bring you guys on here to just talk about really casually, whatever comes across your mind, literature, reading, a little wine, anything at all. And so we'll start with what's in your glass? Y'all hit me up.
Oh, I'll go first. I have some little bit of Cavassier straight.
I like it.
Okay, Gabe. I see
He
you.
set the tone.
Right. Right now, of course, it's Wednesday, so it's all about whiskey, of course. I'm also drinking out of a coffee cup though, but I'm drinking Jim Beam.
Jim Beam.
Yeah, Jim Beam Black.
Nice. Okay. What about you, Zoe? What you got over there?
Y'all don't laugh at me. I'm just drinking a little ginger ale and a little sweet tea mixed together. A nice little blend.
Hey, keep it light.
That is all right. What about you, Andre? What you got?
I got Crown Vanilla. Crown Vanilla straight.
Okay.
You can't go wrong with Crown. You can't go wrong.
Classic.
Well, I don't know what you guys got out there in the atmosphere, but I have a good old fashioned
Good old fashioned.
right on the bitter.
You got the
There we
orange
go.
in there.
What'd you make it with? What's the base?
Oh, I had it made actually. It was a black-owned restaurant here in Frisco, and it's called Bottled and Bond, and they can do your fashions. It's a smoked cherry one, but they make it with Uncle Nearest, so which is a black-owned whiskey.
Amen.
So black on top of yes, all in one drink. So shout out to Bottled and Bond. Shout out to y'all for sure. Okay, so now we know what everybody's drinking. Let's talk about some of these books. Now, I asked you all what was a book that described you, or a book that kind of spoke to who you were as a person. And I'm just going to spit out some of these books, and I hope that our guest can guess who it is. So somebody put Faster Than Normal, Secrets of ADHD Brain. Who y'all think that was? I know the answer, so I know it's not me.
I think was that you, Zoe? The doctor in the making?
Nah, I don't even
That
remember.
You had to remember what you put there.
It's been a couple of weeks.
Well, I'm going to give you a hint. It's someone that does a lot, which everybody on the screen does a lot. But someone who does a lot all the time, if they're not on the mic, they also spinning, they also taking pictures, they also doing other stuff.
I was gonna give it to the man with the mic in the back only because he always going a million miles an hour.
Yeah. So, Gabe, why did you choose that book to represent you? Oh, I think you're on mute. There we go. Let's unmute you. Now we got you.
Can y'all hear me now?
Yeah.
You hear me now? Okay, cool. Now, well, I chose that book because my background is education, so I taught for 5 years. And so I worked with students with special needs. So in working with them and understanding like the spectrum of disabilities, ADHD was the one that I associated with the most. And I've always believed I've had undiagnosed ADHD because I was able to like talk to, diagnosticians and all that, got an official diagnosis. So I just started reading up about it. So I read that book, and it's been one of the most helpful books like for my life, like helping me like organize mind, helping me understand why I do certain things. So that book has kind of been a real like self-help kind of book. That's why I chose that book.
Good choice. All right. Another book that came in was The Count of Monte Cristo. Who do y'all think that was? Now that's a classic.
I'm gonna say, what's the brother with the blue shirt?
Who, right here?
Andre.
Andre.
I really enjoyed that book, but I didn't put that on my list.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's a good call.
That was my
Like
guess.
it. I'm gonna
Now, the
guess again, Zoe. Zoe, was it you?
That's me. I'll claim that one.
Now, why did you pick that book?
And so, yeah, I read that book, I want to say in middle school, because we had to. And I really resonated with the main character because one, he was set up by his friend. So I think we all been in situations where we had been betrayed by people close to us, right? But the way he bounced back, and we've all been in situations where we've been down, regardless if somebody betrayed us or not. But the way he bounced back and the way he had a little luck, but he used education to bounce back. He learned different languages, etc. And he came back and he rose to the top. And so I know that's not the whole synopsis, but I really resonated with that because, I mean, I'm a baller. I played football at Virginia Tech, played DB, and I hurt my foot. And so just as I've gone through different stages of my life, just uh, using education as an opportunity for me to bounce back. Yeah, I didn't go to the league, but I was still able to get a degree. I'm still pursuing my education. So I do feel like it's a redemption story, and it's a way. It makes me think about using education as a tool. Really.
I like that answer. That's good. That was a real professional answer. I like that. The next book, next book that came across was Extraordinary. It had a whole lot of other words underneath it, but Extraordinary was the name of the book, and I had never heard of the book, so I was thinking like, oh, I may have to check this out myself. Who do y'all think Extraordinary was?
That's too fly. That's Brian too fly.
I was gonna say Brian.
That was me. That's
That was so easy. So why did you pick that book? Just Extraordinary.
Well, I think because that's what I personally strive to be is extraordinary. Or if you just break it down, just extraordinary. And the book is really based on giving guidance on how to get you to where you want to be. And I think, what better time than now than any to try to figure out exactly where we want to be and help others guide them to where they want to be. So just motivational, just truly understanding the tools necessary to get in that exact place. So hopefully one day I can actually be those things and be extraordinary. So.
Gotcha. I love it. I will definitely check that book out because I think I'm kind of extraordinary, but that's my opinion. So I see we got Mr. Joe popped on. I've been extraordinary. Hey, I like it. I'm the only female in here, so I will take all the props. You can send them all this way.
That's right.
Well, I see Joe just popped on. Joe, you missed the cheers and all. What's in your glass, Joe?
Oh man, actually, I'm empty cup right now. I just ran it. I was running behind. I just got out of basketball practice. I ran in here, got set up. But yeah, I'm empty cup right now. I need to grab me something. If I did, I'd probably have me some type of smooth bourbon.
That's a good choice. Good choice. I'm saying anytime we got technology issues, we're gonna have to take a shot or something because we're gonna pray for the technology guys to act right today. So
that's real.
Well, I definitely want to introduce everybody to Joe. We got Joe. You are an entrepreneur.
Yes,
you have a lot of things. You have a beard. Explain your company for me. Living Legends Beard Company. It is a beard care, correct?
Yes, ma'am. It's a beard care line, all natural beard care line that's targeted towards men of ethnicity. I just created that out of my own need. I was in the military. I'm a disabled veteran. And I got out the military and I was able to grow my beard out. So I was looking for some products that I could do that with. A lot of the products that were on the shelf obviously are not made for us. So I had some issues with those products. So I started researching all natural oils and essential oils and ended up creating my own concoction. I got a degree in business, so kind of just took off from there. And ever since then, I kind of just been hustling and bustling to grow my business, small business.
All right. I like that intro. Thank you, Joe.
Mhm.
Well, what we have here is we're going around seeing whose book belongs to who, which book best describes a person. So it's between Joe and Andre. That's who we got left between these two books. So who do you think David and Goliath by Malcolm Gladwell? Who do y'all think that is? Joe or Andre? And I'm gonna give you the other book too. Why do all the black kids sit together in the cafeteria?
I'm gonna go with Joe. I'm gonna go with Joe for David and Goliath, and Andre with the Why Do All the Black Kids Sit Together.
Man, have you played this game before?
That's a good call. You got it.
That was
Yep.
a real good call. So let's start with you, Andre. Why did you pick that book for yourself?
Yeah, so like I stated, like you stated before my intro, I am a self-proclaimed blurred black nerd. Growing up, I read mainly for leisure, right? So comic books. I really got into Lord of the Rings and the whole Tolkien world and all that stuff. But when I was introduced to that book, that's what really sent me down the path of reading for education, in my opinion, re-education. Why the black kids sit, why all the black kids sitting together in the cafeteria kind of described my upbringing, being a black male in suburban Plano, right? And it struck home with me, right? Where it's like, it was, I wouldn't say I had a tough childhood, but it was a challenge trying to find that black identity, right? What's being black, what's acting too white, and all of that. And so that opened my eyes to all sorts of material that I went down that rabbit hole for years.
That's a good book. I started reading. I love Malcolm Gladwell. He did a presentation over at Paul Quinn not too long ago. And so he's a really good writer. So y'all check him out. Definitely check him out. I think Joe kind of dropped off, so maybe he'll pop back on and we can get his response. Well, in the meantime, why do you guys think it's important to really talk about literacy, especially in the Black and Brown communities with our young men? Is there something about it that kind of makes you want to say, I want to set the example, or have you even thought about it at all? And y'all, anybody chime in?
I'll weigh in on that one. So that's near and dear to my heart. In my opinion, we've been miseducated, right? And when I say we, all of us have been miseducated in this system growing up. And so just the things that I've learned through all the reading that that I've done within the past 5 years, I wish, you always hear that mantra of, if I knew then what I know now, right? My life, could have been different. I mean, I have a great life now, but I think there's a lot of young men that would significantly benefit from getting value out of reading and all the different materials out there for us. So that's my 2 cents on it.
Anybody else?
Yes, that's a good point. And kind of on the same lines, a big part of me growing up, my granddad, he always mentioned to me that other individuals or other people of a different color always said there's one place where you can hide information where a black man won't find it. And that was inside the book. And so with that, he said, that's the easiest access to education that you'll ever have is inside of a book. And simply taking your time to become more educated and more knowledgeable on the subject all starts with opening a book. And I think that's how we learn what we want to learn on our own time. So I think that it's so true that we need to open these books and read what we want to know from these books.
Mm-hmm. So what do you say? Throw this out there. What do you say to young boys or young men that are growing up and they're saying, I'm not a reader. I don't read. I don't necessarily have a desire to read. So what kind of got you started in your journey of reading? Even if you're reading for purpose or for passion, there is something in your life that kind of got you started. Was there someone, for anybody on here?
I'll speak on this. I was fortunate. My mom was a librarian, so I was always in the library. I volunteered at the downtown Dallas library. That was my first job working at the library. So if I didn't read, I was getting my behind handed to me. I can tell you that much. But from there, my mother taught me that there's millions of books out there, and literally it can take you anywhere in the world that you want to be. It can give you any power that you want to have. All you have to do is turn the pages and enjoy what each page has to offer.
Shaylin?
Well, if no one else is going to go, I'll say it's all about the subject matter. I mean, I think a lot of times when many of us, I mean, one of the other businesses that I own is a math reading learning center. We've owned it as a family for 15 years, right? And one of the things that was a constant theme is, at least when I was growing up, a lot of the books that we were forced to read, back to what you called out, Zoe, I love The Count of Monte Cristo, but if you look at a lot of those other classics, I couldn't relate. I could not relate to any of that material, right? And so it wasn't until I started getting exposed to some other content that struck home with me. And so I think a lot of times, young Black boys, are not getting exposed to the variety of different content. I mean, classic is very, I mean, it's contextual, right? One person's classic is another person's junk. So that's what I would say is let's start exploring and being a little more versatile in the different content that's out there available for the boys out there.
So outside of going to the classics, because we've all been told to read XYZ book in school, we've been told to read these books in college. At what point, or what is it that gets you to read something that you just want to read? Is it the cover that attracts you? Is it the person, the writer that you know something about? What would make you pick up a book that you may not have ever heard of before?
I'll jump in for that one. I think those biographies about the stories about people's lives. If I heard a story about how someone became successful or endured something or contributed to society, like I could have put a number of books on that list. I got a list of top 20 books most influential in my life, and the Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks is one of those that just is powerful. It connects to some of the things that my mom told me about her experiences going to the doctor when she was a kid and coming up Southside Chicago, and why some people in the Black community have a fear of the doctors, and they were sterilizing Black women and all types of stuff. And so just knowing that, I'm in the financial institutions world and banking. And so as I see how the economic damages that have been done to the Black community, and I'm like, man, there's so many opportunities that were lost. And I'm like, Henrietta Lacks did so much for the field of science. Her family, they should be billionaires. They should have B's, period. And so, I guess I kind of led with the story, but then I got into the economic impact, and then just I guess how the story relates to us. So I would say, yeah, definitely, if the book relates to a story that's powerful, somebody contributes to society, and if it has something to do with some of the experiences that I've had growing up and how it connects to the work that I'm doing now in community development, banking, financial services.
Good.
I was going to say one thing that makes me want to pick up a book is, I hate to say this, but when I'm trying to prove somebody wrong, if someone tells me some stuff that I don't agree with, that I don't believe, that I'm like, yo, that sounds like some bullshit, but I can't prove you wrong. So let me go do some research and let me see what the experts say before I even, entertain this conversation. So that's one thing that makes me want to pick up a book, or has made me want to pick up a book in the past. And then two, I think like on my path to like self-discovery and understanding like with which philosophical ways of thinking I most agree with, like I'm now understanding that more within myself. So as a result of that, I'm choosing authors who are on that same line of thinking. Like James Baldwin. To me, he's probably one of the, in my mind, I agree with his way of thinking the most out of most writers, leaders, thinkers. Yes, the fire next time is the yes.
But
that was the first time I read a man saying, if Christian, I'm paraphrasing, but he was like, if Christianity or if religion, or if a religion isn't working for us, then it's time for us to get rid of it. I never read that in the text ever in my life, and it just kind of struck me reading that in his book. So that's the number 2 thing for me for sure.
Great. I always find it funny to find out how people start reading or what attracts their interest. Myself, I'm a big historical fiction person, but not everybody likes fiction. You have some that I know. You have some that are reading to gain something, to learn this technical skill or this knowledge. And there's a trend, especially with men, to read more of those empowerment, be a better person, think of the larger picture, do something great. So have any of you ever thought of writing something yourself or being a creative and putting some of that same energy back out there that you were absorbing?
I for sure have. I know I have played with the idea. I mentor as well. So for the young guys, like just talking to them, like I never felt wise, but when there's such a big age gap, when they ask me questions about stuff, they're like, damn, you really know? I'm like, I just know because I've lived 32 years. So sometimes I'll be like, well, maybe I should just bottle up what I've learned just thus far and then just, give it to them. So.
We got any other creatives in here?
Yeah, I'm one, definitely. I thought, at different times in my life, I wanted to write something. I know when I was younger, I wanted to write fiction. I'm very much into the fantasy world. That's where the blurred part comes into play. I don't want to expose myself too much because y'all will laugh.
Wait, no, Andre, we got to talk about that because Black sci-fi is making a real. I started writing some stuff for Black sci-fi. That's a whole different conversation, but we'll talk.
It's true.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's real.
Absolutely. So I come with all kinds of stories in my mind, right? And so that is something. But just like many of these gentlemen here, my plate is so full with so many different things. I can't see myself really dedicating any time on doing that. But like you said before, I've got a wife and some kids that are all actors, and they're all writing and producing movies. I'm gonna write something. I tell you, so look, y'all, if I'm gonna be your benefactor and support y'all gonna put some of my shit up there.
I know that's right.
So.
We got any other creatives? This your time to shine if it is. If not, I'm plugging myself.
I'll say not in a creative sense of literature, but definitely in a creative sense of visual art. Fortunately, I've been able to work with Gabe who's also on the call, and just work in different ways to tell a story in different art forms, whether it's photography or videography or, like you mentioned with mentorship. I think there's a lot of different ways to tell your story, whether it be fiction or nonfiction. So that's why I, of course, stick to styling and helping people tell their story through their fashion and what they wear on a daily basis. So that's the way that I help people tell their story of what they want to tell of themselves to other people. Like this is how I'm telling my story right now. This jacket says I co-sign Black women. So that's the story that I want to tell right now. So, I love it. Yeah, it's just different ways, and that's when I find my creativity in.
See, that's the beauty. Now, I will say this because this is my own personal opinion, but I feel as Black people exude this aura of just creativity through our pores, whether it's music, whether it's art, whether it's writing, it just comes out like magic. And so
I think it's because, well, go ahead.
No, I think everybody has a little bit of creative flair to them. They may just not necessarily consider it to be creative. They do.
Yeah. Can I jump in or say what we froze a little bit?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but yeah, I'm not. So it's like being creative is like an expression. It's almost like therapy, like whether you write in your journal, whether you taking notes to share with somebody, or like myself, where I'm trying to connect these dots between what's going on at a high level with public policy and what we experience on a day-to-day basis. So like connecting the dots and telling stories for other people, and also just that introspection, like Gabe was talking about, the stuff that he's telling these young guys, stuff he does on a day-to-day basis, it might be nothing to him, but if he bottles that up and writes it down for himself, that could be like therapy for him. He can remind himself of certain things, and also for those kids in his community and kids around different communities. So I definitely see it as an opportunity, because like reading all meant something for us. So just being on the other side and creating something is like giving somebody else that peace of mind that we received. So that's how I see it. I know that probably kind of talked in a circle, but I hope
No,
y'all
not at all.
me.
It kind of goes to we got a question here from our Facebook Live, which kind of speaks to that. Andrea asked, I wonder if there's enough support to help break this generational curse. It would be amazing if there was the standard amongst the Black men. It turns out to be young men thinking of traditional knowledge versus life experience. What do you think would be needed to kind of break that curse of going in the same cycles simply because this is all I know? This is what I've been taught. Is it just literature, or is it a little bit of both?
That's a loaded question.
I know.
It is.
We're going to have to get back to her comment letter. We all going to have to
They asked real quick.
We can talk it. We can go around the circle and go through that one, because I'm pretty sure we all have a very similar but very kind of perspective on how we can break the cycle. Like, I mean, Zoe, what's up? What you got?
That's deep. I'll try to keep it brief, but I know we all can go in on this one. But I'll say,
yeah, for sure,
it's tough because it's first of all, there's this accountability thing, but then there's also these systems that exist, right? And so you gotta understand that there's a pull and pull, like push and pull factor. Like I understand there's a sense of accountability for us as a Black community, but we can't have that accountability from ourselves and just ignoring all the other historical things that have happened. Like I think we got to take two and one and the same and say, okay, yeah, there's some systemic issues that are going on here. So these young Black boys who are in 11th grade reading at the 3rd grade level, that's a systemic issue, and that's an individual family issue. Now, how do we take some of the challenges and nuances from both of those sides and figure out a solution? So yeah, we definitely got to look at the policies, but we also have to look at ourselves. And I think combinations of that, like I'm not trying to say pull yourself up by your bootstrap, because like what MLK used to say, it's offensive to tell a man to pull himself up by his bootstraps if he has no boots, because some kids don't have that support at home. We can't be aloof to that. So I think I'll start there, and then I'll let the other brothers come in and add some layers to it.
Yeah, let me weigh in on that too. So I totally agree with that. However, I'll also contend to say we've got to challenge the culture, right? And what I mean by that is there's a lot of us that have made it out, quote unquote, right? And so if you look at a lot of these other systems that are put in place, like if you look at, say, the Chinese community or the Jewish community, right? They put systems in place that are separate, that do not depend on, right, the system major, right? And so that being said, that onus, that accountability does fall on those that have, quote unquote, been awakened, right, to go back and reach and provide those boots. And I think that that's something that I love the fact that I think, Gabe, you already mentioned that you're mentoring people. I know I am as well. I'm sure all of y'all are mentoring someone in some form or fashion. But that's, to me, each one teach one, right? Where it's going to require us, both from a traditional knowledge perspective, re-educating ourselves, based off the knowledge that we gained traditionally and, you know, to begin with, but then leverage our life experiences to make it contextual for a lot of brothers that are coming up that they haven't gotten exposed to that, right? And so that's my 2 cents, but I totally agree with you, Zoe. Definitely there's systems that are keeping us in the mix.
Anybody else
What
want
I'll
to
add is I'll add, you know, kind of to Gabe's point, I definitely think that there's a mix of both. And what Zoe mentioned is kind of the best of both worlds, right? We have to have that, we have to leverage what we're taught, but understand that what we're taught comes from systems that weren't built for us, let alone by us. So we have to understand that we must utilize our common knowledge of our experiences to teach the future and hopefully not make those mistakes, or how to correct the mistakes that we've made and our parents have made, but also teach them how to leverage what we've gone through to enhance their lives, right? And I think, you know, to what Dre mentioned, it's going to take a lot of work, and it won't come overnight. I think there's a lot of things that we must equip the next generation with, and I mean, in terms of mentorship, so that, like our parents did us, just hope that they can use it for the best of their benefit, and grow from it and make the world a better place in a sense. But I definitely think that it's a two-pronged approach, being that you have to have that personal experience and knowledge that you've gained on your own, but you also must be taught from those who look like you and dress like you, or come from the same historical background as you do, to help move you further in the future.
I was going to say,
go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say I agree with I agree with all these brothers. Specifically to Zoe's point about that quote with about how can you tell a man to pull himself up by his bootstraps when he doesn't have boots. So answering the question, how do we break the cycle from a literary, since we're talking about books from a literary perspective, I think when I think about those boots and us not having them, I think about our love for books. Like, we never had those boots because we never had a love for books. We never really had a real love for reading. And that's probably because, to break that cycle, we have to look back at how we've been conditioned to see reading. For the most part, it ain't been nothing cool. Like, we ain't even read nothing that we really care about. We ain't read nothing. Yeah. Like Brian said, got authors that look like us. So nothing about reading for a lot of us who come up from our generation, nothing has been beneficial to us. So first, I'd say, to break that curse, one of the things that we can do is try to figure out how we can reverse that. How can we create literature or the answers to real problems and put them in books and let people know that this is here for you to consume. This is here for, or either put the message out to say this is something that's beneficial for you. Hopefully you read and you get something from it, or change the connotation that we have to it. If there's a way that we can use books in a way that complement mentorship or field trips, like something to help them see reading as something that leads to something more positive, in some kind of way. So those are two things that come to mind in terms of literacy, how to break the cycle, because truth be told, for a lot of us, we don't know better. We don't do better because we don't know better. A lot of times we don't know better because we haven't experienced better. So exposure sometimes through books is the only way we can get it out. So
that boy Gabe is dropping fire tonight, y'all.
Appreciate it. Thank y'all. My boy Brian.
Man, I'm loving this. So, okay, what's your opinion? Hardback, paper books, audiobooks?
So go on, jump it off. We'll do it in a circle. We'll do the.
All right, I'll keep it light. I think it depends. If I'm driving, audio, but I do like the hard, book covers. Sit back and you kind of turn off all the noise because there's so much text, so much going on now. So I do like the hardcover, just for that reflection reading where you sit down, read a page, maybe jot some notes, put it down, think a little bit, take a nap, wake up, get back to it. Yeah. So I'll leave it at that. Pass it along.
I think it's the content, right? So if it's something that's light and entertaining, audiobook all day long. But if it's something that I really need to, that I want to dig into, I've got to have a physical copy. I don't distinguish too much the difference between ebook and paperback and hardback, this, that, and the other. But if it's something I can hold and make notes on, this, that, and the other, then yeah, definitely. It just depends on what I'm consuming.
I'm just gonna say a book. I definitely have a mixture. I'm looking at my coffee table. I have hardbacks. I have paperbacks. I rarely listen to audiobooks. I will say, usually for fiction books, I'll listen to audio just so I can have that auditory and to create the visual. Crazy note, I actually listen to the Bible when I'm in the car because it creates that visual thought and it allows me to think deeper. But of course, I also read and highlight the book itself. But I'm just gonna say book on this one. Sure, audio, paperback, hardback, give it to me. I'll take it.
Okay.
I think for me is go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Okay, I was gonna say for me it just depends on the situation. So it's like, if it's something like that I'm learning something from, it has to be an audiobook. Like I just have to kind of be able to kind of move around and still let it play. Like I just have to, I don't know, that's just how I learn stuff. In terms of like getting information. So audiobook when I'm just trying to get information. If I'm traveling, paper because it's lighter, paperback because it's lighter if I can't get it in audiobook. And then also it depends on like kind of the scene too. Like, don't judge me, but my mother, I still have some of her stuff, right? So my mom used to read those Zane books and she would hide them. So I opened a few of them up. And for the one that I'm looking at now, the one I'm reading now, I like to read it like this paperback, and I like it. It's an ambiance thing. I know I can't do an audiobook for it. I know I can't. I have to have like a paperback or at least a hardback to like sit up there and read it. So it's been interesting.
That would be an interesting audiobook. I tell you that.
I don't know if I need that audiobook. I don't know. I don't know if I need some sound effects in my ear. It's a lot.
By the way, you're being judged right now. I hear from Shay right now.
It's okay. That's okay. I was curious. I was like, why did my mother read these books? And I was like, I see. I know why. I know the logic behind it, but I don't know. I'm gonna stop that. But
you exposed at this point. You were straight as fuck.
No, that's real though. Like, it's like you just made me think about leaving books for my kids, just leaving them around the house, just wondering what they might stumble on. We can kind of just leave some nuggets for them. Like, I'm gonna leave this economics book underneath their bed. Just hope they just find it, just stumble upon it. I'll be like, where did you get that book from? You like economics? Oh, that's great.
That's exactly why. Truth be told, like the number one reason wasn't like a sexual thing. It was just more like these are the only books that I've seen her read, and she just generally. I didn't take my mom for a reader, but she read those books. So I was just like, what's actually in there? Because I'm not, to be honest, I'm not a fan of reading it. But now that I see like the books that she's read, like I see why. I see that element, that storyline element that you can actually read, because I wasn't really a fiction book person in general anyway. But like I see it now.
See, I hear that. Leave some books around, but not all the books around.
Don't leave all the books. What's that red book?
Oh my goodness. So who's reading a book right now? I know not everybody's a reader, and sometimes it's based on experience and what's going on in your life. What are y'all reading right now?
Well, I can tell you right now, what I'm reading is, for the second time, is Brainwashed: Dispelling the Myth of Black Inferiority by Tom Burrell. That is a deep one. It's great. That's going to become my little Bible when I'm talking to the other young Black people coming up. It's a good one.
Okay.
Andre, you got to drop that. Can y'all drop them in the chats or something?
Oh, yeah.
I just want
yeah.
Big facts. Right now, I'm doing a lot of racial equity work. not just for myself, but for constituents and peers and colleagues, so we can all become more equitable and more fair in a sense. So I'm starting this book right here, How to Be an Anti-Racist. And of course, I got to give a huge shout out. Yeah! Yes, Dre! Gonna give a huge shout out to, of course, Dallas Truth, Racial Healing and Transformation, doing the great work in the city. And I think they're ensuring that the city becomes more racially equitable. So I definitely want to give kudos to them and think that this book will go a long way, because I know this guy right here, all day, Gems, all day.
Love it. Love it.
He drops fire, definitely.
I'm ready.
Anybody here? Have you ever heard the term? Go ahead, Zoe.
I was trying to hear you better. It sounded like you were trying to say something. Gabe wanted to jump in.
Oh, I was just gonna tell my book. I'm actually on an audio book. It's called On Tyranny. Who's it by? Let me see. It's by a guy named Timothy Snyder, and it's basically each chapter is a lesson on. Of course, we know like there have been disenfranchised groups all around the world. So basically, each chapter is about a different group around the world and how their country ended up getting taken over by a dictator, or it fell into some crazy form of communism, or just some wild shit happened. So it's like the lessons from each situation that the people probably want people to know about. So it was just I picked that up because white nationalism, all that bullshit, starting to happen. So I'm like, let me start looking on what's happened in the past.
Get focused.
I'm just just let me learn a little bit about it. I just need to read about it. So that's what I'm on.
I'm over here. I'm reading like 2 or 3 books at the same time, in addition to some other things. But one book is called The Power Broker, just helping me think through about power dynamics and political systems, and as I'm navigating as a Black male through the hierarchy. And also just I'm reading this book about it's the Oxford book on banking and some other things, financial systems. It's just like Brian was saying about, and Andre, we're all speaking about equity, and we were definitely underrepresented in the financial world, banking world, for sure. And so you think about literacy in general, if we're struggling with the basic literacy of reading, we're definitely going to struggle with financial literacy. So I'm just trying to make sure that, as I elevate or as I learn more about, what's going on in the financial system, when young brothers, sisters, whoever, they want to talk to me about some of these nuances, I can help them break down what they're experiencing at their bank, what they're experiencing and how they're trying to save money, or what's the difference between assets and liabilities, the role of money in the economy, all these different things, because I think that's important for us. So, yeah.
I like it. Yeah, folks will want to know, what are y'all reading? They want to make sure they get it and write it down. So I'm going to try and put it up here for y'all. So we got Brainwashed, Dispelling the Myth, The Black Inferiority, Tom Burrell. Okay.
I'm gonna
I'll have all the others for you guys. Cool. All right. So before, I know we're almost out of time, and like there's a million questions that I want to ask y'all. So this will not be the last time that we do this, for sure. But before we go, a question came in. Yeah, a question came in. I want you guys to answer this. What book would you recommend for the women or significant other in your life to read or read together to better understand them?
Ooh, that's a good one. Woo, you got a great audience. That's a head scratcher. I see it. We all looking up in the sky.
We all like looking around. Let me see if I'm thinking about some books. Let me see. For that, and you saying like that? You saying like the couples can read together?
Either or.
Okay, so
what about pimping? I'm so
In
playing.
Whoa.
Yeah.
My wife is gonna kill me. 'Cause
Honestly, okay. All right, I got kind of a cheat code, but it's more like a date night kind of thing. Like it's not like a self-help or understanding kind of book, but I'm into photography, so if you're really into like older photographs, I'd say get like a photography book. Like this is one of my favorite ones. It's called Songs of the People. And so it's just cool to kind of like go through. I'm sorry, I don't know how I'm handling this the right way, but they're like pictures from the 60s, 70s, different photographers. And like, I think it's like, I know for sure I enjoy looking at these with my significant other, you know what I'm saying? When we just talk, oh, this is what it was like, it's just a good thing. So there's that. As far as like help books, I'm gonna leave that to my brother.
So Five Love Languages, right? So there's a lot of cliche books out there, but one of them that was good that my wife and I went through was the Five Love Languages that we read together, that allowed us to really understand kind of that miss, right? That miss of, oh, I get why you like, your love language, your deposits into your love bank is by me doing things for you without you having to ask, right? And so it's I don't know how long you gentlemen have been married, but for the married men out there, it's a really good one. So we liked it.
Maybe that's why we single, because we're not reading about how to bring it together. That's probably the problem. That's the problem.
I'm over here looking like, okay, I'm gonna take these notes when I find that somebody, when I find that young lady.
We'll talk. And by the way, I didn't start off reading that. That was after some years together. And we're like, hey, we need to do it different. We need to change it up. So holler at me if you have some questions.
It's funny you said that. I heard about that from another guy. I'm married. I've been married about a year and a half, so I'm new to the game. But that's a good question, because my wife and I we're starting to think about that. Because you watch movies at the end of the day. How many movies you watch before they all start to look the same? You need to switch it up. So we're starting to think about the books we can read together. But it's funny, I met my wife, our first date was in the library, so we've always had this intellectual relationship. She's in law school doing her thing, I'm in grad school, and so like, and man, I sat in some of her classes, so a lot of times we've read the same. Her professor wrote this book, and she was reading for class, and so I was like, I want to read it too. So we read it at two different times, and then every now and then we'll talk about certain parts of it. So we'll nerd out like that. That's like the basis of our whole relationship. So I guess I can say we have done that in an academic sense in the past, and we still do it from time to time. But I think, taking on that book like the Five Love Languages, I think that might spice it up a little bit.
It's a good one. His needs, her needs is another one.
Okay.
So those two are pretty common. Five Love Languages and His Needs, Her Needs.
Okay.
Is a good one too.
And I was gonna say, I've never read this book, but I've perused it. I bought it a long time ago, and it says Legacy Conversations about Wealth Transfer. So it talks about wealth transfer. I haven't read it yet, but this is a book that I had in mind when I actually, decide to make that jump.
There you go.
I'm gonna keep it on the books that kind of what Gabe mentioned earlier. I will say, get you a good like Zane book or Eric Jerome Dickey book, or I heard that The Coldest Winter may be coming out with a sequel. Like, I think those books are interesting. So I just think that those are good conversation starters, and maybe some other starters. But other than that, I'm gonna also say, bring it back together. The Bible's a great book to read. There's a lot of good stories. There's a lot of good notes that you can take from it and help better a relationship. And I think that that's a good standard in a sense for those who are religious or spiritual or believers. But of course, it's helped in a lot of scenarios. But yeah.
I love it. Love it. Okay. Last round here. That's about all the time we got. Self-care for Black men. Right now, due to COVID, we are all at home. We are looking at each other. We are sick of each other. A lot of people are picking up books to read. They are finding new hobbies. They are taking care of themselves, going on walks. What are you doing to take care of yourself as a Black man?
Well, I've got a health and wellness business. So one of the things that we just announced a collaboration with a woman. Her name is Claudia Montanari. She's a coach for the Faster Way to Fat Loss. And so before we kicked off that collaboration, it's a 6-week program. And so my wife and I did that 6-week program. We're actually on the 6th week right now. That's why I told you, Shay, that I haven't drank alcohol for 6 weeks. That was one of the the things that they cut out. But it was awesome. It was great. It really, really was. And it sold me to the point where I'm like, yeah, let's go ahead and do it. Let's combine our services. So that's what I've been doing because I know I gained the COVID 37. I know I did. I was eating good and singing my woes. So I needed it.
You and me both.
I was gonna say for me, getting back to like my routine, honestly, like that's helped me a lot, including like all the things I know I need to do within it. So prayer, meditation, a little workout, scheduling my day, really like sitting down and thinking about how I want my day to go, where I want it to be, so I can have more control because of course, like COVID and pandemic and Trump make you kind of feel like you don't really have a lot of control because, so that's what I do for sure. That and ride my bike. I ride my bike sometimes.
I'll jump in. I do several things. Like I try to work out, but one thing that comes to mind is I have an online journal, so I'll type every now and then something comes up, I'll type my notes, and then I basically I have what I call my laws, like some of the biggest lessons in life that I learn, or if I experience something that gets reaffirmed, I put it in my digital journal, and I just type it up, and every now and then I'll go to that and reflect on some of the lessons that I learned. So it kind of calms me down. Not like I'm overwhelmed or anything, but it is like soothing because it's like, yeah, so you did experience that. This happened last week, and so just typing it up. It's not the same as writing it down, but I still feel like it has the same effect. Like typing it up. So how'd you feel? How'd you navigate a certain situation today? What'd you learn from it? It's kind of like therapy.
Mm.
So I've done that, and I never thought about it in the context of this question of self-care for Black men, but that's my response.
My self-care routine has, in addition to what the other guys said, working out, meditating, prayer, and of course, reading, I think the biggest takeaway has been taking walks. I never really understood how quaint and relaxing it is. And, whether I walk in silence or I walk, and speak to God, or I'll walk and jam my 70s Soul Essentials playlist on Apple Music, and just jam out. Hey, it's always on time. Or even just my classic gospel playlist. I just really enjoy being in nature, walking, like I said, being in the moment and just not doing anything work related. And I think that's been a peace of mind in self-care. In addition, since I don't have, relationships like many of the guys, or I'm not married or anything, I became a plant dad during the quarantine. So look,
you became what? You became what during quarantine?
Plant dad.
Congratulations.
Oh, plant dad. I thought he said player. I was like,
That's what I heard. That's what I heard. I was like, what does that look like? All right.
Plant dad, So taking the time to really learn plants and learning how to cater to a life that can't speak to you or be vocal about what their needs are, and just really giving my chance to pay attention to something outside of myself. I mean, don't have kids. Like I said, don't have relationship or anything. So just being able to see something and watch something over a period of time and learning what it needs and how to take care of it. And that's really been centering me. So that's kind of my self-care tip, taking care of something else, I guess.
I love it. All of those are great tips. And I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us today. I know the questions are coming in, and I'm pretty sure that people will be sharing and liking this video because you guys dropped some gems like everywhere. So we want to do this once a year. We want to have an opportunity to celebrate and thank you for everything, just being who you are, and showcasing the importance of literacy is huge. To remind all our viewers here, this is Book Mecca. Book Mecca hosts events online virtually as well as in person. Whenever COVID lets us be great again, we will be able to do that. But we also have our online bookstore, which is a curation of personally curated Black books from all over. So if you need a book, you want to know where to go, you can go to bookmecca.org and get it. So all of these guys' contact information will be there. We want to thank you again, and you guys have a wonderful night, and cheers. Cheers to you.